Hi, my name is Louis Porter Jr., and I'm the creator of NeoExodus, A House Divided, and the upcoming NeoExodus Novella series. Basically, what NeoExodus is a personal project I've been working on for the last 5 years. I wanted to do a fantasy setting that really took a lot of the traditional aspects of fantasy in a very different direction. I like fantasy, but I really don't like some of the things that I consider to be silly in fantasy. One of my favorite things is talking about wizards who cast magic, but they don't make batteries for things, which I don't understand. You have all this power, you can do all these things, but you don't make batteries or large robot things or automatons and things like that. And it just never made sense to me. So I decided to build my own fantasy setting, basically looking at a lot of traditional things and turning it on their head. For example, why is the princess always being saved by the big, tough, super strong knight? And that's great. Why can't the women save, the guys once in a while? And better yet, why don't I see more people who look like me in that kind of fantasy setting? You don't. If you do, it's only one kind of setting, and it only can be African, and it only can be guys in loincloth, and it's very much kind of silly that there's a better chance of me finding elves and dwarves in a fantasy setting than somebody with dark skin. And I just think I always thought it was kind of silly and ridiculous. So I developed NeoExodus on that basis. And with that, I developed the world of, how would the world be different if women were running it? If women were the leaders, which most of them are. How do I take traditional fantasy roles and just twist them and give you something different? Give you something I think that most people want to see, and even better, most people don't even know how much they want to see because they've never thought about it that way. And I think that's what I really did with NeoExodus. And we put together a campaign book for our role-playing game, and in the middle of me doing this, I kept saying, geez, I wish I could write fiction and do really cool fiction stories, because I think there's just more, I think more people would find this kind of fantasy appealing. It's not your traditional fantasy. It's more like, the best description I've heard so far, it's a fantasy setting with a lot of specific elements that you normally find in science fiction, such as the political aspects and religion versus science, and how does that play with society. And it's a lot of those issues, but framed in a fantasy setting. And from that, I developed, I'd love to tell more stories, because I specifically have a story of two thieves in the setting, and they do thievery type things, and in the middle of them being thieves, they get involved with a very large conspiracy for the entire setting. And that is kind of where the basis of the whole NeoExodus Novellas starts, which we call, of course, Grand Theft Exodus, just like the planet Exodus. And what I'm really looking for in this Kickstarter project is really to basically fund enough money to get people to see this fiction based on our setting. And we were kind enough and really nice enough to get Robin D. Laws, who initially saw the project. I pitched it to him. I told him what I wanted to do, and he took a look and said, yeah, I would love to do that. And I think he, like I, saw that you can make fantasy different. You can do more passionate kind of fantasy. It's great to do sword and sorcery, don't get me wrong. It's great to do that, but it's also better to tell some different stories and get people excited about it. And that's really what's important. NeoExodus is how I see fantasy, and I'm willing to bet it's how a lot of other people see fantasy. It isn't just one type of person, one type of story, one type of, we've saved the kingdom and we slayed the dragon, and yeah, we've done that. But there's more to fantasy than that. And I mean, I know, I've been reading fantasy for a while. I love fantasy, but I want the fantasy I read to reflect more of what I grew up seeing and getting involved with, and how can I bring that into these stories. So that's basically all we're really looking to do. Like I said, we're trying to raise this money so we can get these books initially started as an EPUB and PDFs, and then eventually go to print and get them into retail shops and even libraries, which I think is the most important part, because that's where I'm sure most people got their start reading. It's going to a local library, getting some books. Hey, what's this? I mean, we all started with The Hobbit, and I got my copy from the local library. So I'm just hoping that I can put together a really great novella. I'd say book, but it is a novella that I think people will find interesting and exciting. So please do us a favor. Please help us. Help donate some money if you can, and help us get this project made and make a success, and more importantly, get more kids involved in A, reading, B, expanding their imagination, and C, most importantly, just having a good time. Thank you so much for your help.